Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Vuvu and this is Vuvu Vena Reads, and welcome to day 19 of VVR VEDA, and shout out to my daughter. It's Iana's birthday today. She turned 6. Why do I keep doing this thing? I don't know what's wrong with me. She turned 6 today. 6. I cannot believe it. Happy birthday, baby. I hope you have a lovely day, and if you should ever look back on this video, just know that the love I have for you is endless. Happy birthday. Anyway, it is First Chapter Friday, and on today's First Chapter Friday we are reading from Thabile Shange's In the Midst of It All. So if you are curious as to how this first chapter goes, please do stay tuned.
So Vena _reads is an amazing book reviewer, also YouTuber. She reviews books on YouTube, and if I'm not mistaken, she also has a blog as well. So please, if for your connection with literature, get in touch with or follow at VUVUVENA_reads. She is based in South Africa, and I think it is also extremely important to follow literary content creators who are based outside of the West and in continental Africa, because they do a really good job of bridging the gap.
We appreciate you, Vuvu, for bringing us Turning Pages and for bringing us your BookTube channel.
You know, this is a chance for people to actually see some people that I really enjoy.
Please consider pressing the red subscribe button down below, and if you are returning, welcome back, fam.
Vuvu, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, so baby girl, as per usual, we are going to look at that cover, okay? And I don't want to lie to you, this was the first thing that grabbed my attention from the get-go. I did get this book as a review copy from NB Publishers, and whoever worked on this, and I know who it is because I think I did end up trying to find out who the designer is. They did a sterling job, okay? I have no idea how. Let me see. Cover design by Lungile Mtambo. Chat, look at this. We already know it's gonna have some romance. We already know that there's gonna be, because they're not looking at each other, right? The body language is talking about some form of intensity, something going down, okay? And Thabile is a South African based author, so yay to local. So anyway, in the midst of it all, that's the cover. I absolutely love it. This is Thabile. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's see what they have to say about the author. So it says Thabile Shange was born and raised in Durban, South Africa. She is a qualified journalist who studied at the Durban University of Technology. In 2018, she published her first short story titled The Morning After. In the Midst of It All is her debut novel. Okay, sure. We hear you, we see you. The synopsis. In the midst of disapproval, distrust, and volatile times, can love survive? Her heart was racing, and she was not sure if the cause was nerves, fear, excitement, or all three combined. At the top of the staircase, his stride was suave and exuding confidence, the kind of walk that showed that he owned the place. Like a creature trapped in a trance, she allowed her legs to follow his footsteps. Nandi Nxumalo finds herself in a complex situation as her relationship with her Nigerian lover Femi Adewoye progresses. She needs to tell her very strict and prejudiced father about him. When Babu Nxumalo learns who she is dating, his stubborn resistance is not the only thing threatening Nandi and Femi's happiness. An old flame from Femi's past enters the picture, leaving Nandi doubting his faithfulness and her place in his life. Then xenophobic attacks break out all over South Africa, and Nandi and Femi do not escape unaffected. Nandi feels she has to do something, even if she faces immense opposition from various quarters. She can no longer be silent. Okay, let's delve into that first chapter. Okay, I see she's got a prologue. So our first chapter is gonna be the prologue, as we've already established as the norm on this channel. So first, okay, let me see something, sorry guys. Okay, it says, to those who continue to love. The prologue starts on March 2017. Nandi stood outside the garage and stared at the black and white signage. It had the words Femi's Auto Repairs Garage in bold. There were several cars parked outside and she wondered if they belonged to Femi's clients. If they did, he was having a busy day. Would it not be better to come back some other time? But no, the deadline for her television production assignment on the effects of xenophobia on foreign-owned businesses was looming. She walked inside. Femi was one of the very few business owners who had been kind enough to respond to her email and agree to an interview. Most of them were not interested in being on camera, even though she made it clear that only her journalism lecturer and course-mates would watch the documentary. As she entered the garage, she saw that it was spacious, with enough room to add more cars to the 5 that were already there. The walls looked freshly coated with a grey paint, and everything was neatly stored on shelves and hooks, except for the tools on the floor the mechanics were using. Okay. Everyone seemed too busy to notice her, and she didn't want to disturb the man who was rolled on a creeper under the car in front of her by asking where his boss was. She looked around and noticed a metal staircase leading to what was most probably an office. Would it be appropriate if she went up there to look for Femi? She didn't have his number to call and let him know that she had arrived. Sweet lady, a voice jolted her from her thoughts. With her hand on her chest, she turned around. I frightened you, the man laughed. He had a Nigerian accent. Was he Femi? His laugh was friendly, although it annoyed her that it was at her expense. Hi, I'm Nandi. I sent you an email about an assignment I'm doing. He nodded and chewed on the toothpick he had between his fingers. His eyes were running over her light blue striped off-the-shoulder shirt and her ripped jeans. You must be Femi, the owner? She asked, ignoring the creepy stare. She wanted to finish what she came here to do and get out of the garage and not look back. He was about to say something, but his phone rang in his hand. It seemed as if he was expecting the call. He stepped a few meters from her and answered, speaking in his home language. From the few English words he mixed in, she concluded that it was about business. She sighed, looked at her wristwatch, and placed her hand on her waist, waiting for him to finish. A few seconds later, someone was coming down the stairs, a man who was also talking on a cell phone, but in English. He sounded frustrated and was talking about still waiting for supplies he had ordered the previous week. Just sort it out, please, he said without shouting, but clearly annoyed. At the bottom of the stairs, he ended the call and looked right at her before walking over. She didn't know what to say. It was obvious that he was the real Femi, the owner. It made sense since he came from the office upstairs, his office. He was wearing black sweatpants and a grey crewneck t-shirt that had some recent-looking grease or oil stains on it. You must be the lady that wants to put me on TV, he said when he came close to her. She was first awestruck by his piercing dark brown eyes, and then he made it even worse by flashing his perfect set of teeth in a brilliant smile. She was really stunned by the alluring male figure in front of her. Oh, she managed to say, I thought he was Femi. She looked at the man who had just finished his call and was walking towards them. Oh no, Femi laughed. That's actually my friend, David. Bros, David said, let me go and meet a customer at my shop, but make sure you collect her number for me. David smiled at Nandi before he strolled off. Don't mind him, Femi laughed. Hope I did not make you wait for long. She shook her head. He explained that he had been on a call with his supplier in Pinetown. His voice was deep but also very soothing, and it sent tingles down her spine. At that moment, all she wanted to do was keep quiet and allow him to talk. Okay, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Femi Adewoye. He placed his right hand on his chest. I own and manage this place. As they shook hands, she noticed his grip was firm. When his big hand folded over her small one, she could have sworn that his thumb was brushing her skin. She realized that he was holding on to his hand a little longer than necessary, so she quickly pulled away, embarrassed. I assume that you are the one who sent the email, he said. Yes, Nandi sibe ngxumalo, Nandi. Okay, we can get started. My office is upstairs. We can do the interview there, he said. I hope that's okay. He must have noticed that she was a bit hesitant, so he smiled that smile again that looked like he was about to laugh. I promise I won't do anything to you. He turned and led the way upstairs to his office, and she followed him. Careful, he warned, since the gaps between the metal steps were wide, but he jogged up them with ease while she concentrated on not falling, her eyes on his white sneakers instead of hers. Her heart was racing, and she was not sure if the cause was nerves, fear, excitement, or all three combined. At the top of the stairs, his stride was suave and exuded confidence, the kind of walk that showed that he owned the place. Like a creature trapped in a trance, she allowed her legs to follow his footsteps. The first thing she noticed when inside the small office was how clean and well organized it looked. The grey walls were plastered with motivational quotes from Nelson Mandela and other world leaders. His desk and chair were in the middle of the office, with a chair for his visitors in front of it. She took off her backpack and placed it on the desk. It would be a bit intimidating sitting in that visitor's chair facing off against him, almost like an interrogation. Shaking her head slightly, she tried to get rid of the silly thoughts. When he closed the office door behind them, her anxiety and overactive imagination started racing again. The mechanic garage might have just been a front. What if they were selling hard drugs? What if they thought she was here to expose them? Was she in danger? I spend most of my time outside this office, Femi said while opening the windows. The room was a bit stuffy. I might be the owner, but I'm not afraid to get my hands messy and work on the cars, as you can see. He pointed to the oil marks on his shirt. Without waiting to be told to have a seat, she walked over with bravado and sat down on the boss's chair. It was very comfortable. She felt like spinning around in it, but that would be going a step too far. He smiled, and with his thumb scratching his beard, jet black and well-shaped, she always believed that a man's beard was a reflection of how well he took care of himself. Will you have anything to drink? He asked. He sat on the edge of this desk. I'm fine, thank you. Can we start, please? Feeling a little bit cold, child. She took out her camera from her backpack and looked around the room for a place where he could position himself for the interview, a spot with enough light. All right, but I need to quickly go to my car and get another t-shirt so I can change out of this dirty one. I'll be right back. He stood up and walked out of the door before she could say anything. She was itching to open the desk drawers in front of her. What could be inside? She didn't want to be caught intruding. She imagined how Femi would check her out if he happened to walk back into his office and found her going through his stuff. He had not closed the door when he left. She decided against it. Her focus shifted to a cupboard in the corner of the room. Was it locked, and what could be inside? She imagined packets of cocaine, forged documents, and wads of real and counterfeit cash concealed there. Her crazed thoughts were interrupted by a sudden rumbling noise that came from an odd-looking bar fridge in the far corner. It made disturbing sounds. Although she knew it was normal, she was in panic mode. What was inside? She remembered an article she'd read a few weeks ago about a man who was arrested for harvesting human organs that were recovered during a police raid at his house. She stared at the fridge as if her eyes could suddenly develop a superpower of X-ray vision and show her what was inside. Human hearts, lungs, kidneys. These organs were sold for millions on the black market at the expense of the innocent people that were killed to harvest them. Was she next? Was he lying about fetching a clean shirt? Her heart started beating fast, and she quickly opened the drawer in front of her to look for anything that could be used to defend herself if he tried to harm her. The handsome and gentle looking Femi could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Her hands were shaking as they raided the drawers, which were filled with neatly stacked documents. So she no longer cared if he walked in through the open door. Her precious life came first. Her hand closed around a sharp pencil. If she sensed a threat, she wouldn't hesitate to stick it in his throat and run for help. This was her survival strategy. She heard someone coming up the stairs, so she quickly closed the drawers and placed her hand on the desk. She held tightly to the pencil as if her life depended on it, and only loosened her grip when she saw him appear holding a black t-shirt similar to the dirty one he was still wearing. "Are you okay?" he asked, eyeing her with a slight frown. All she could do was smile and nod. She didn't expect him to pull off his t-shirt in front of her. The white vest he had on underneath was pulled up in the process, high enough to expose his fit torso, of course, that looked like a slab of delicious dark chocolate. She cleared her throat and tried to focus her eyes somewhere else, but couldn't help glancing back. He smiled and stared right at her as he put on the clean shirt. "You don't like talking much, do you? How can you be a journalist and not like to talk?" He didn't wait for an answer. "Well, I like to look good, especially since I'll be on camera. Where did you say this video is appearing again?" He had succeeded in making her feel relaxed, and the camera interview was going well. She was surprised at how calm and collected he was when he told her about the people that had forcefully entered his garage claiming to be looking for drugs while making their way out with his equipment and car parts. Nandi felt guilty that she had entertained the stereotype of a Nigerian selling drugs earlier, even if it was only for a few panic moments. She had expected Femi to be more emotional while recounting his ordeal, but he was very composed and even made a few jokes in between. What an impressive guy, she thought. "Oh, don't get me wrong, it was bad," he said, frowning when she remarked on his positive attitude. "But mourning what happened is no use to me. I worked hard to pull myself and my business up. It was not easy, Nandi." She kept the camera rolling. Now I can talk a lot about the emotional effects of xenophobia. It's devastating. Men have been kicked and beaten to death," he continued. "But the topic for your assignment is the financial effects of the violence, right?" She nodded, appreciating that he stuck to the topic. Her lecturer had stressed about making sure that the documentary's angle was clear from the start to finish, and being the perfectionist that she was, Nadi knew that was what she had to do. When they wrapped up, he offered to walk her outside. "I hope you get the highest grade on this assignment," he said when they were standing in front of the workshop. "If I do, it would be great thanks to you." He nodded. "I would like to know how they grade you," he said. After a short silence, taking his phone out of his pocket, she smiled and hoped that she was not blushing. She accepted the phone he was holding out to her. "Wait, you know I can always email you my mark. I have your email address, remember?" She handed him back his phone. He shook his head, refusing to take it. "I only use my email for business." Okay, smoothie. Okay, that brings us to the end of guys, I don't know why I'm not wearing a jersey, I'm cold. This brings us to the end of our first chapter reading of Thabile Shange's In the Midst of It All. If that whet your appetite at all, please do let me know in the comment section down below. If you've read the book, let me know what you think about it without giving out any spoilers, of course. And until next time, I really do love you guys for choosing me. Bye now.